Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to dive into Arc Raiders, the upcoming extraction shooter that's got me absolutely hooked. I got access to the tech test 2 recently and poured about 35 to 40 hours into it over 4 days. Yeah, I went pretty hard. And that's because this game is shaping up to be the first real contender in the extraction shooter space since Escape from Tarkov. And let me tell you, it's doing some things that are straight up next level. Now, if you know me, you know I hate third-person shooters, especially in competitive PvP senses. Games like PUBG, while I loved that game back in the day, as soon as they added a first-person mode, I never looked back at third. Third-person peeking just messes with the game loop for me in ways that I really don't like. But Arc Raiders, it's got so many strengths that I'm willing to overlook that one gripe. In this video, we're going to break down everything from the gunplay to the crafting system, visuals, and why this game is going to appeal to both casual players and sweaty tryhards like me. We'll throw in some edited highlight videos so you can see some of the runs yourself and get a really good handle of what this game is about. So settle in and let's talk some Arc Raiders. Don't forget to hit that like button, especially if you're excited for the game like I am. Now, for those who haven't been following, Arc Raiders is a PvPvE extraction shooter set in a post-apocalyptic world where humanity's been driven underground by deadly machines. I know it sounds cliche and rehashed, but believe me, when I say it's a fresh take on an old storyline, it really is. You play as a raider, headed to the surface to scavenge for loot. You fight robots, maybe even take out some other players to get their gear. The goal, get your loot, extract, and make it back to your little slice of home in Speranza to craft better gear and level up. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's got that Escape from Tarkov DNA all over, but it leans way more towards casual and console friendly with radial menus and a UI that feels built for controllers. Think of it as Tarkov meets The Division with a dose of Star Wars Battlefront. Now, some might want to see me make a comparison to Marathon here, but honestly, after playing both Arc Raiders and Marathon's alpha, should I say alpha? I think the Embark studio is stealing Bungie's thunder. It seems like everywhere that Marathon stumbled or had a gap, Arc Raiders shines. The gameplay loop is simple but addictive. You load into a map, grab loot, avoid or fight Arc bots if you want and other players, and extract before the 30-minute timer runs out or all the extras close out. What sets it apart, though, is how Embark Studios solves problems other extraction shooters have struggled with, and we're gonna dive into those next. Let's start with the shooting and movement, because this is where Arc Raiders absolutely shines. The gunplay is tight, responsive, and just feels good. Weapons pack a punch, but they're balanced in a way that keeps the skill gap real. Unlike games like Apex Legends, where high-tier shields and weapons just make you invulnerable to anybody who doesn't have those, Arc Raiders avoids that trap. Upgraded gear, like better shields or weapons, gives you an edge, and it does matter, but it's not a guaranteed win. A low-geared player can still outplay someone decked out if they play smart and land their shots. I had several instances of taking down fully geared, juice players with a free kit, which is Arc Raiders' kind of take on scav kits from Tarkov. Basically, free kits have minimal gear, the most basic guns, no attachments, no upgrades. The weapons have weight, with noticeable recoil, but they're not so wild that you feel like you're fighting the gun itself. And the movement is where the third-person perspective actually works in the game's favor. Sliding, rolling, vaulting, jumping, it all feels fluid and it looks cinematic. It feels and looks great. You see your character reacting to the world, the environment, limping when injured. You know, all of this adds to the immersion. Along with that, you have the zip lines and dynamic traversal options like climbing or dropping off ledges, making getting around the map a blast. It's tactile, it's rewarding, and it's one of the best movement systems I've seen in a shooter in quite a while. Now, visually, Arc Raiders is straight up stunning. The maps we got to play are dripping with retro futuristic detail, like some kind of version of Fallout set in a Blade Runner timeline. Weather effects like rain or fog make everything feel alive, and the environments are so detailed you could see the rust on the doors and the impact, and it feels alive and lived in. The grass moves as you go through it, the wind affects the vegetation, the robots, all of it's there. On top of that, the audio is on just another level. And maybe that's because the bar's so low because a lot of the games I've been playing, but I can't emphasize enough how good the audio is in this game. Explosions temporarily deafen you. Not like actually deafen you, but your character's audio you don't hear as well. Gunfire cracks with a punch, and ambient sounds like the hum of the drones, it keeps everything keeps you on edge. And I know this sounds like an exaggeration, maybe it is a little bit, but it really feels like this is the first game to get reverb right. across the board in, man, I don't know how long, maybe forever. Like I said, an exaggeration, but the reverb effects are just so good. Even the VoIP is so well detailed that people talking sound like in-game audio, not like somebody's VoIPing. It sounds like a voice line from a character, especially if you get some of those sillier people who like to roleplay a little bit. On top of this, the game doesn't need hit markers because the visuals and audio feedback are so good. When you hit a shielded player, you see sparks and hear a distant crackle and crack. Unshielded hits have meaty thumps. Down players, when they go down, they shoot up a red flare into the air, which this is actually a genius way to signal fights without cluttering up the UI or any other crazy stuff. It all ends up being immersive, cinematic, and honestly, some of the best sound design I've experienced in any game recently, across the board, hands down. And while all this is great and stuff, we're not even through it all. The looting and crafting system is where Arc Raiders really starts to innovate on some stuff. The loot in the game and everything else is basically component-based. You find junk around, and it's all color-coded, you know, white, green, blue, purple, yellow, I think. You know the drill. It's pretty typical. What's cool is that you can break gear down from higher tier components into lower tier components. So even if you don't find exactly what you need, you can still get there without as much RNG. And several times where I needed green or gray or white components and I didn't have them, but I had a shield recharger or some blue component that I could break down and get the stuff that I needed instead. And why this is important is because it keeps every piece of loot viable, unlike other games where as you progress through the game, more and more loot becomes worthless. This was one of my biggest criticisms with Marathon, is even after 15, 20 hours of gameplay, a huge majority of the loot, you just ignored it. It wasn't fun to find. It was just clutter and litter everywhere. Now, along with this, the game shifts away from a trader-heavy economy, kind of like Tarkov's. And it's more craft-focused system. In fact, it's entirely craft-focused. Almost everything, weapons, ammo, shields, meds, grenades, you name it, you'll craft it all yourself, or at least you have the ability to. Traders do sell gear and you can get stuff from them, but it's crazy expensive and money can be pretty tight. So instead, you rely on all the components you find, and on top of that, there's an interesting little kicker. There's a chicken, a rooster, in your hideout that gives you free basic components after every raid. And this doesn't matter if you win or you live or don't. If you survive or you die, the rooster brings you some components. And it's not a ton, but it's enough to keep basic gear crafted and keep you in the fight, even after a series of bad runs. And this ties into the high burn rate on gear, which is something interesting that both Marathon and this game have. Your inventory's small, so you use what you craft or find pretty quickly. You're not really hoarding massive stashes here. You're burning through gear as you play, which keeps raids intense and purposeful. And that is what's so important, is because you're not stashed up on stuff and not completely bloated, everything is important. When you find that cool gun because maybe you've lost the one you had and you've played 4 or 5 raids, you finally kill another player and he's got that level 4 shotgun or one of the other more rare weapons, it's actually exciting instead of just something else you throw in a weapon case and forgets there till wipe. But going back to Speranza, which is the kind of the city or where your hideout is at, and this is where the magic happens. It's got modules like weapon bench for crafting guns and medical bench for healing items and explosive bench for grenades, among many others. And you can upgrade these. It's familiar takes on a lot of game loops out there. And the more you upgrade them, the better gear you can do and the better stuff you can craft. But it is satisfying to see your setup grow. The progression system is forgiving, but it's still deep. That's a razor edge that is really hard to walk. And even though it was only a short time I got to play it, it looked like they were putting a lot of effort to walk that razor wire. And leaning more back into the casual stuff, you earn XP every raid, even if you die. And this can go into your skill tree, which helps with mobility, conditioning, and survival. These skill trees let you tweak your playstyle, faster stamina regen, quieter looting, better climbing. None of it's really game-changing, but every unlock feels meaningful. There's also a battle pass system, which I know some of you are going to cringe at, and it's going to use in-game currency that you're probably going to buy. That's how they're going to monetize this on top of the sale price, but it's not super intrusive and it feels fair. There is a very light pay to win vibe there, but it's not like something like ABI or some of these other games. yes, you can buy battle. You're probably going to be able to buy battle pass tokens or whatever, and you can get gear with those tokens, but it's nothing over the top. And on top of that, these battle pass points or tokens or whatever you want to call them, you can earn them in game as well. You complete little missions and tasks that are specifically for the battle passes. You get the points, and then you can buy this gear, which is, it's some of its gear, it's cosmetics. It's very, very similar to Helldivers. And this progression system overall, like I said, is accessible enough for casual players that leaves them feeling satisfied and they can accomplish something, but it has enough depth to keep real competitive and hardcore players more. I don't want to say hardcore, but you know, people that play a lot more, streamers, enough to keep them engaged. Now, the next piece is, again, this is something where Marathon is going to struggle with unless they figure out a way around it, is matchmaking. In Arc Raiders, it's simple, but incredibly effective and brilliant. You can queue as a solo, a duo, or a trio, and the game tries to match you with similar group sizes. So, for example, if you go in a solo, you're mostly going to be matched with other solos. Though you might occasionally see a duo or even a trio, it didn't happen very often. In all my games of playing solo, I only ran into true duos, not like organically formed ones where two guys met up and were like, hey, let's be friends, but like actual guys that went in together. I only ran into those maybe 2 or 3 times. And this goes the other way. As a trio, you mostly face other trios. We did occasionally see a solo, but it was really hard to tell if that guy was actually by himself, or you know how it is when you group up in randoms and trios. There's always some guy that just runs off by himself. So it's hard to tell, but it wasn't very often either way. This flexibility means that Embark doesn't need separate queues for everybody, but also you're free to play how you want to play. And for sure, solo runs were complete different vibe than, you know, running as a squad. As a solo, it was way more tense and way more stressful. You're watching what you're doing. Fights were kind of scary because you knew you were going to get third-partied by somebody else right away. Whereas trio runs felt more like coordinated heists, where it was more of a train wreck of just funny, chaotic moments, and it totally different vibe. And on top of this, they have proximity VoIP, which just adds another layer that you can try to talk your way out of a fight. You can taunt people, shit talk. It's all great. But it really does make every encounter unpredictable and fun. Now, Arc Raiders keeps you on your toes with dynamic in-world events. This is something we're seeing pretty common in other games, ABI, DMZ, you name it. There's games that are getting into doing this. You might run into a swarm of arc drones. You might get a map that lets you have a nighttime mode, which is a little bit more intense and better loot. You have another mode with special kind of bots, a queen and a harvester, which that's like top of the level stuff and really hard to do. And then some other things like just better loot. There's some kind of event going on, you know, there was raider caches to loot, and then there was another one where it was like, you got to pick fruit, which sounds silly, but there's some of the progression stuff for picking fruit or food. And these were part of the dynamic events just in this playtest. Now, these events, plus the 30-minute timer and constantly closing extraction points, make every raid feel urgent and unique. The game has this knack for pulling you in, whether you're a casual player just looting or a competitive player hunting for that really crazy, juicy PvP. All right, let's take a break from the talk and jump into some gameplay. This is some clips from one of my solo runs in the Test Tech 2. This little thingy on my shoulder. Air freshener for the apocalypse. Make a good blowtorch though. Seems like they're going with the typical components mix. The environmental looting is really interesting. The whole process of giving yourself away with audio to get into containers. I'm assuming any shooting we hear is players. How far as that sound goes? I think kind of far. I heard those 3 guys I was under. I definitely heard them. But heard some, what was that? Pick up roots. Safe pocket. Oh, I've got a safe pocket. Oh, maybe we do that. What else do we put in there? Put that in there. Guess we put the blues in there. Oh, this game is so not loot goblin friendly. I wonder if there's bigger backpack like upgrades. What is that? See, I feel like that shooting's right here, but I can't distance. I'm not sure about. Okay, that one's already been in a fight. Oh, what is that thing? That is a big guy. I don't think we go do anything near that guy. As I run straight forward. Third person cheese. So there's somebody there and somebody up, I think, that are fighting each other, maybe? I have no idea what I'm walking into up here. It feels like people spawn here, too. Ow! Now here's another highlight, this time from a squad run. Oh, he saw you, not me.
Jesus, dude.
I'm right on top of him.
He's still just on that car.
He's right here by me. He's in here with me.
There's two. There's two. There's two.
Down one.
Yep.
He's in here.
Yeah, pushing. I'm kind of far though.
He's gonna down me right here, probably.
Nope, I got you. I'm right next to you.
Watch the left. One's to the left here. I got two
mine.
more right here. I downed two right here.
Okay, I downed another one. That's three. And sit in this bush and absolute stim.
They just gave up.
Nice.
So what's the verdict? I mean, I've been praising the thing the whole video. Arc Raiders is fun, it's engrossing, and it's left me counting the days since I last played it. As of now, we don't really know when it's going to launch again, though I think it's going to be pretty soon. And despite my beef with third-person shooters, the game's strengths, the tight gunplay, fluid movement, stunning visuals, the crafting system that just works, made it impossible for me to put down. It's the first extraction shooter since Tarkov that feels like it could shake up the genre, and its broad appeal for both casual and competitive players is gonna make this a hit, at least I think so. I honestly haven't been this excited for a game since the early days of PUBG, and that's saying something. The dynamic events, the battle pass, and the progression system are going to give it legs, and I can't wait to see what Embark Studio does next with it. So if you're hyped for Arc Raiders, let me know down in the comments. What do you think about the third-person perspective? Or are you all about the crafting system? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for gaming content, and I'll catch you in the next one. As always, appreciate you guys for watching, and I guess we'll see you in Speranza.